Morning, Abotai. Today is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. It is election day for the mayoral candidate in the city of New York. I'd like to explain certain halachot that have to do with voting. Now you might think, what does halacha have to do with voting? The answer is a lot. So listen carefully. You should realize that although early voting has ended on Sunday, many people in the 5 boroughs of New York City came out to vote. However, they took a statistic of all the people that came out for early voting. 80% of registered voters in the city of New York had still not voted, which means although tons of people came out, 80% still have not voted, which means the only chance left to vote is today. There is an interesting halacha that the Rambam brings down in Perek Gimal Milchot Teshuvah. I actually heard this from my colleague, Rav Eliyahu Mansour. Says an interesting thing. The Rambam writes a whole list of things that a person can do to lose his chelik la'olam haba. Now we know that every Jew, ve'amech kulam tzadikim la'olam yishu haaretz, kol Yisrael yeshem chelik la'olam haba. What sometimes people forget is that although we are born with a default portion in olam haba, in the world to come, there are things that any Jew can do to lose it. There's an entire chapter. There's a perek about that in the 10th perek of Masechet Sanhedrin. There's halachot about that. One of the things that the Rambam brings down that a person loses his share for in the world to come is haporshim miderkei tzibur. Those who deviate, those who separate from the path of the rest of the congregation of the Jewish community. Which means what? The Rambam gives a few examples. He says, let's say there's a mass, there's a gathering of tefillah, or there's a gathering, there's an acceptance of a ta'anit, of a fast, and there's a person that says, nah, not for me. The Rambam says, even if he's never done any other avirah in his entire life, the Rambam says, en lo chelek la'olam haba. He does not have a share in the world to come. Why? Because in order to get into olam haba, you have to be part of the tzibur. If you separate from the tzibur in this world, you're separated from the tzibur in olam haba as well. Now, does that apply over here also? There's obviously clear and present danger. There's a threat to Am Yisrael in New York City, and it could be beyond as well. And by the way, the threat to Am Yisrael in New York City doesn't only apply to New York City. It also applies to yeshivot, kolelim, and Eretz Yisrael as well. Because it's possible that anybody who has, in the state of Israel, can lose their tax-free status in terms of donations. So not only may Jews in the city of New York suffer, yeshivot, kolelim, all sorts of organizations of Kodesh in Eretz Yisrael can suffer as well. So you better believe when the Gdolim, Gdolei Yisrael, Poskim, Rabbanim, they're telling you go vote, go vote. Now, stay with me for a second. These are the same Rabbanim that when things go wrong, the first address that any Jewish person, any Jewish family, whenever there's anything really wrong in your life, where's the first place you run? First place, right? If it's a health problem, so you go to doctors first, obviously, but any problem, it's always Rabbanim, Gdolim, the same people that you always run to tell your problems. The same people that you always run to ask for berachot are the ones telling you now, not telling, begging, literally begging every single person, please go vote to help Am Yisrael. So it's a little bit of a chutzpah when they're doing that to be like, nah, it's not going to help. All sorts of tirutzim. It's not going to help anyways. I went to vote. Listen. I went to vote. It took me longer to find parking than to vote. Okay, that's the way it works. Now, not to say now, a person, oh, you see, I don't want to spend time looking for parking. That's the next thing of the Yetzer Hara. No, do what you have to do. Rav Moshe Alav Shalom, Rav Moshe Feinstein, the Gdol Hador of America, he pointed out, he said it's our civic duty and privilege to go vote. You cannot enjoy all of the benefits of free society without doing your civic duty of voting. Because otherwise, we'll just go back to communism. And guess what? There are many people here that are products, that are testament to how communism doesn't work, right? So, that being said, before a person goes into the voting booth or whatever it is, I made a special tefillah. Before voting. L'shem yichud kodesh b'richu shente. By the way, there's mitzvot aseh ve'lo ta'aseh that you can be mekayem just by going to vote. Mideoraita mamash. L'shem yichud kodesh b'richu shente. B'tchilu urchimu tchilu. V'yachadash shem yotke bevavke. V'yechudash shem shem Yisrael. Hareni mechaven al yedei hishtatfuti b'vchirot elu. I am mechaven, you can say it in English too. I am mechaven with my participation in these votes and for voting for the candidate that will do the best for Am Yisrael. Hareni mechaven lekayem mitzvat aseh min haTorah shel ve'ahavta lere'acha kamocha. Mitzvat aseh v'gemilut chasadim. Mitzvat lishmoa bekol chachamim. The mitzvah to listen to the chachamim. Mitzvat lo ta'aseh shel lo ta'amod al dam re'echa. The mitzvat lo ta'aseh, there's a Torah prohibition to stand idly by while your brother's blood is being spilled. If you saw a fellow Jew being attacked, if you saw a fellow Jew drowning, if you saw a fellow Jew struggling, wouldn't you jump in? You must jump in to help, and if you don't, it's a negative Torah commandment if you just stand by. That is what this is. It is the most consequential New York City mayoral election in history. So therefore, before you do it, don't just go do it, do the mitzvot involved. Have kavanah, mitzvot tzrichot kavanah. Have kavanah to do the mitzvot that I just spoke about now. And then afterwards, don't forget, as the Gemara, Masechet Nida, Daf, Ayin Amud Aleph says, Rabotai, listen carefully. The Gemara says, anything that you do, you can do anything. But if you don't pray, you will not be saved. I said at Tefillah this morning, everybody should say Pirkei Teilim. Everybody should be mitpalel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, save Am Yisrael from the Atzat HaRisha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, let the candidate that will be best for Am Yisrael win. Nothing works without tefillah. Nothing. Now, there's such a push to vote, but there also has to be an equal push to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Without HaKadosh Baruch Hu's intervention, nothing goes. I'll tell you a personal story. My mother, she should live in Biwel and Neve Esrim, she's getting up from Shiva for her mother this morning. Right now. She asked me last night, she says, I want you to take me to the cemetery this morning to visit my mother, to visit the kever. I said, okay, no problem. After tefillah, I'll come pick you up. I'll take you to the kever. And she said, and then I want you to take me to vote. That's what's on her mind. During the Shiva, she's thinking, she was asking me, am I allowed to go vote during Shiva? You're not allowed to leave your house during Shiva. It's asur. She said, how am I going to vote? I said, Baruch Hashem, you're getting up the last day of your Shiva. When you get up is election day. So she said, you're going to take me to the cemetery, and then you're going to take me to vote. I said, Ima, don't you want to take a shower first? She said, no, I want to go vote first. Rabotai, that's a Musa. Have a wonderful day, and Be'ezat Hashem, we'll pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he'll do the best that he believes for Am Yisrael in New York, in Eretz Yisrael, and around the world. Amen.